Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com. I had a viewer ask a question about poverty. He said, Ryan, may you please make a video about poor people not being able to overcome their conditions and how you can overcome poverty. Thanks. This is a great question because poverty is so intertwined in the culture, even where it's viewed like, oh, well, you have to give to the poor. You have to help the poor. They need help. And there's almost this victimization and helplessness that is taught to poor people. Now, I'm not speaking this from a position of, oh, here's a rich guy talking about poor people. I was extremely poor growing up, extremely poor. I'm talking about food stamps and the literal stamps, not the card you get today where you have some pride, but in a humiliating stamp. I know extreme poverty, but I also know the mentality that was the biggest cause of the problem. The biggest problem most poor people have is they expect poverty to be their place, their lot in life. They believe it's somehow a blessing even. I had one person telling me about, well, you don't understand that health and wealth gospel. That's what they call, think about that. A gospel is good news. And what they have is to tell the poor, this is their supposed gospel, the gospel of disease and poverty, is to tell the poor that you have to remain poor to humble you and make you better, make you fit for heaven, and all this nonsense. What's the purpose of Jesus coming if poverty is going to be your savior? Poverty is going to make you fit, not the leading of the Spirit, not salvation, but oh, no, you need poverty to teach you some lessons here. Why are some people great, excellent, beautiful people, godly people, and they're not poor? They didn't need poverty, crushing, debilitating poverty to make them better people. It's ridiculous. The sanctification of the Spirit has nothing to do with poverty. You don't need poverty to become a better person. You don't need poverty to learn lessons. If anything, poverty denigrates people, destroys them, and drags them down to the pit of hell. It causes the worst of things, from prostitution to drug selling to drug use to all kinds of evils. That's not good. That's not a good thing to be a part of or to have anything to do with. I'd also quote, like I quoted this person, other person, not the person asking the question, but this person that said, well, you know, health and wealth gospel is evil and of the devil and all this nonsense. Deuteronomy 28 makes it very clear what the blessing of God is and what the curse of the law is. Go read Deuteronomy 28. Read all the blessings, the wealth, prosperity, and health that comes from being blessed by God. And read all the curses that come from being cursed of this world and out of line with God's will. It's not good. And poverty is a huge part of being cursed. Poverty is a curse, not a blessing. It's an evil, not a good thing. It doesn't make you holy either. And many people try to use poverty and make excuses for it to cover up for their own indolence. Listen, you need to have real results in this life, and you can easily, because God has given you energy. He's given you life. He's given you the breath of life. He's given you an intelligent mind to be able to think things through. But as long as you're thinking poverty and you're believing for poverty and your faith is set toward poverty, that's what you're going to get. And that is the biggest problem most poor people have, and what keeps them in poverty, from which they'll never gain any traction to get out of. Because anytime they get money, they get a tax return, what do? They spend it. They get some inheritance, they spend it all. Everything leads them back to poverty. And until you change that mindset about being a poor person and thinking impoverished thoughts, thinking the thoughts of the poor, not bettering yourself each and every day, you will absolutely remain poor. One of the things that could help somebody in this, a couple of things. I wrote a couple of books that would be very beneficial. If you're poor right now, these books would radically change your life and drag you out of poverty into wealth and abundance. One of them is my book, 600 Wealth, Prosperity, and Abundance Affirmations. that's absolutely beneficial, especially regarding to poverty, to get you out of poverty. The other is a 7-day positivity diet, because many people, they have such an impoverished worldview, and everyone around them is telling them about poverty and things being bad, and this is bad in the world, and that's bad, and we can't get ahead, and all these things. That little tiny booklet, the 7-day positivity diet, is dramatically life-changing if you apply it. Because in the end, you could say, well, what about this? And, this country has this problem and this situation. And there's all kinds of excuses people give to circumstances where they make circumstances their God. But the reality is, it's all your choice of thought. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, as it says in Proverbs. And the reality is, as long as you have that poor person in your heart, that's who you see yourself to be, that's who you think you are, you will remain poor. Because every time you get a wise idea, a witty invention, some creative idea that God gives you to make great wealth, you won't take any action on it. You'll sit back, you'll come up with 1,000 excuses. Most of them be about, well, I don't have enough money to do that. I've told people this before. They said, well, I don't have money to do this, and I had this idea, but I don't have the money to do it. And one of the things that was going to require one of these people to print up flyers, but they didn't have money to print up flyers. I said, why don't you go to the actual printer that would print up the flyers and explain to them what you're doing, and ask them, well, what if you ran an ad for your printer service on the bottom of my flyer? Would you give me a discount? Well, I never thought about that. You got to have money. And no, God can give you ideas to where you will have thousands of dollars worth of value produced out of nowhere just by a creative idea. Stop using money as an excuse for why you can't get things done. Now, I understand obviously capital is needed, but in many cases, there are wise, creative ideas that could get you the same results with no capital up front. In the end, you have to stop with the excuses. Start looking for an excuse to succeed. Instead of looking for excuses to be poor, reasons for why you think poor people are better than rich people, or why poverty is better than being blessed, and stop lying to yourself and saying, well, I'm blessed, when you're poor. That's not a blessing, it's a cursing. As long as you look at poverty as a blessing, you're cursing yourself, because you'll never try to find the way out. This is like a man trapped in a prison cell who says, well, I'm having a great life. I'm not in a prison. Everything's good. Everything's great. No, it's not. You know it's not. So why not get out of it? Why not walk out? Because here's the thing. God will give you the key to get out of that prison cell of poverty you're in. But you have to be willing to make the changes to get the results that can be freely yours. Now here's all you have to do is make the changes to your mindset. As I mentioned, those 2 books, those will be very beneficial for you. They're very inexpensive. You can absolutely make changes today if you want to. You don't have to remain poor. I know people think, and they've been told, they've been raised in poverty, and you don't even realize how beat down you are with poverty mentality. Even many middle class people are just on the brink of poverty because it's in there. It's just that instinct, that self-image of poverty is just there. But you can make changes. You don't have to be the man that thinks in his heart that he's poor, that he can't get ahead, that he can't have success, that he can't have wisdom, that he can't have divine favor. God can surround you with favor, encompass you with favor as with a shield. You can have favor everywhere you go. People will treat you well. Everywhere you go, you'll have favor. Everywhere you go, you'll be blessed. You do not have to walk through life expecting the worst and getting the worst, because whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. If you're expecting the worst, you're planting those seeds of poverty, of impoverishment, of disease, of suffering, of lack, of want. But you can change all that. You do not have to remain. And the biggest thing is not some influx of money. That's not going to make you rich, because what you'll do is you'll spend it all. It'll be gone in no time. This happens with lottery winners all the time, where they get millions and millions of dollars, and within a few years' time they have nothing, or worse than nothing. Then they have tremendous debt and no ability to repay it. My friend, you make the changes in your mind today. Start thinking of yourself as a rich person. Start putting in the effort to make the affirmations and to make the changes you need in your mindset. And it's going to take a little bit of time. You've had years and years to program yourself with poverty mentality. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you can start seeing immediate changes in your day, immediate changes in how things go and how results are in your life, immediate changes in the way you actually see things. Instead of seeing everything as you being a victim, you'll start seeing, wow, I'm blessed. I'm highly favored of God. So I'm going to put links in the description below to those 2 books. You can get them. They're very inexpensive. I think they'll be a blessing for you. And I want you to know today, you can absolutely rise out of poverty and get into wealth and riches. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.